For you.
So are we? Oh, you're joining us. Okay, so we don't need to do electronic participation here. All right. Good morning, everybody.
Different meeting.
I've been watching a lot of Law and Order lately.
I know, right?
Well, good morning, everybody. We've got a quorum. We're going to get started and call to order. If everybody would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If the clerk would please call the roll.
Ms. Bagley,
Here.
Ms. Bailey,
Here.
Ms. Bonke, here, Ms. Franklin, Mr. Gordy,
Here.
Ms. Hayes,
Here.
Ms. Holmes, Mr. Karen Thomas, Ms. Vasquez Luna, Mr. McLaughlin, Ms. Singh, Mr. Stork,
Here.
Mr. Walkinshaw, Dr.
Right here.
And Madam Chair, we have
Wonderful. All right.
Just, as a reminder, up on the slide, just want to point out that our primary evacuation route will be through the double wooden doors to the stairs, not the elevator, and then we'll of course pop down into the foyer area, go outside, and our primary muster area will be out in the grassy circle area, unless there is impediments to that. Want to identify some assignments we've made. Got primary and secondary 911 callers. The IT gang over here in the corner will handle that. They've assured me that they're, if not, they will submit a help desk request. Dallas will be our primary runner back there. I've got Eric and Chris in the way back will be AED, CPR, first aid. And then let's see, Anaya. What's your assignment, Anaya? There you go. Perfect. Awesome. Just take an opportunity to quiz her a little bit there. That's my safety moment, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next action is to approve the agenda. If everybody's had an opportunity to review it, are there any comments or changes?
So moved.
All right. Is there a second? Great, thank you. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. The agenda is approved. Moving on to the minutes from the February 21st, 2025 Ops Board meeting. Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Move for approval.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. We'll move on now to the chair's comments. That's me. Good morning again, everybody. Welcome to the March VRE Ops Board meeting. I hope everyone has their March Madness kicks on today. Feel free to show them off. We don't have any committee meetings scheduled this month, but I want to remind everybody that we have Finance Committee scheduled after the April board meeting. So Mr. Stork chairs that committee, and it's actually designed to lead off of a presentation we'll be getting in April about the 2050 plan and sort of the financial elements of that plan. So I would encourage everybody to be here for that. Also, those of you who signed up for the recruitment, the general counsel position committee, we are having a virtual meeting April 7th at 2 p.m. on WebEx. I see some nods, which is good. As of now, the members of that committee are myself, Ms. Bailey, Ms. Bonke, Ms. Hayes, Ms. Holmes, Mr. Stork, and Mr. Walkinshaw. So that first meeting is virtual, but I just want to have everybody sort of thinking about when we move to the interview phase, we are going to need 4 people in the room when we do those interviews for quorum of the committee. So we're going to try to be thoughtful about where we schedule those and when we schedule those. And if anyone on that committee already knows that they have a big spring break trip or a significant time away, if you can maybe start to share that information with Brandon and myself, I'd appreciate it. So we can
Chair. Do you need an alternate in that case where they don't feel pressured
Let's see how the scheduling comes together. I appreciate that. Because we've got 7 and I'm sort of hoping we can work up 4 each time at least. I mentioned March Madness. Last thing I'll mention is I hope everybody saw the photos from the Alexandria Valley Shanners Parade. It was an excellent time and the float was a huge success. And I really enjoyed walking with the group, and it was really popular, and we got lots of hoots and hollers, lots of trains are cools shout outs. Oh, there are photos behind me.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a great time and the weather was beautiful. And so kudos to VRE and everybody who built and transported the float. Is there a video that you wanted to show? Oh, here it is. Your CFO, ladies and gentlemen.
All in green, all in green.
She's gotten a haircut since then.
So those are my comments this morning. I'll pass it to the CEO for his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, just on our safety report, I do want to replicate. I think it's probably been about this time each year that I come to you and just want to emphasize specifically with our partners at Keolis, and more specifically their operations that they have at our maintenance and storage facilities, in addition to the operations of our trains. These are, again, most of you have seen this before. Top left is days worked without controllable injury. That's at the Broad Run. That's the mechanical team. Broad Run. Bottom left is the transportation team. You don't need to do the math. That 3,444 days is about 9.5 years, which again is just it's unprecedented in our industry and stuff. But I think that definitely reflects, Keolis's, dedication to their positive safety culture and stuff like that, that we collaborate on day in and day out. So I just wanted to highlight that. That was a huge milestone earlier this month. On-time performance, we settled out system-wide at 85%, again, slightly below our 90% target. I do want to point out here, getting down to the bottom white quadrant there, read over under OTP, the Manassas line. As you can see, we just barely missed 90% on that line. Fredericksburg line, 80%. That's been obviously dragging in the sub 80%, but a lot of things happening out there. Again, continue with congestion. I'll point out here, again, just quickly, we did have some, obviously in the month of February, some weather related events and continue to experience delays as it relates to congestion. There were some under the Amtrak infrastructure up there. We did get caught up in the, I'll just say, post-weekend work that Amtrak had conducted. It's a good and a bad thing. We want them, obviously. We support them enhancing their infrastructure in Washington Union Terminal, but there was some spillover effects, if you will, into our Monday service on one particular day. So all in all, the 85% system-wide is it's manageable, still below our target. Ridership, we'll point out, February with a total number of service days of 19. You'll see the total ridership number there. Again, 19 service days. A lot of that came right at the end of the month. And it's somewhat offset the beginning of the month when we were having some, like I said, weather-related events. I'll take a moment, though, and just give you some perspective. For the month of March, through yesterday, we've already exceeded that 152,000 number, and we're only 14 days into the month. So we still have 6 service days left in the month. We exceeded that number by about 10,000 right now. So when we come back next month, you'll see that graph considerably taller than the rest. And then February, of course, correlation to the correlation to the total ridership number. Average daily ridership, of course, is now starting to peak out above numbers that we've seen before. Similar comparison through yesterday, our average daily ridership for the month of March is a little over 11,500. Again, that's average for all operating days. So good month in February, even better in March. Couple things I just wanted to update you on. First, I'll ask Mark real quick. Mark has been our lead on SJ28. He'll give you a couple of just quick updates on that effort, and then I'll switch over to DMV moves.
We have been taking a little bit of a pause over the holidays. We're gearing back up with the SJ. Sure, Kate can tell us lots more. The technical working group is going to be meeting, and then the actual joint committee is going to be making a quick presentation at those, just talking about sort of high level, what is coming for VRE in the next couple of years, what our needs are, where the gaps are, things like that. And as Chair mentioned, we're going to be coming to you all next month. The timing for you all to approve the 2050 system plan is actually really good, because we will then, as a part of the SJ28 and the DMV moves, when we're looking to get a handle on where VRE's needs looking ahead, we'll be able to point right directly to the plan that we just adopted and say, this is what we're planning to do, rather than like, well, we might do this or we might do that. So we'll be coming back to you with next month. We'll be talking about the plan and how that links into SJ28, and then I'll continue to give you the updates on as the working group and the committee continue through the spring and into the summertime.
Mark, when does SJ28 sort of deliver its product?
Kate, can I turn to you for the correct answer on that one?
So the plan for SJ28 is to have recommendations by the end of the calendar year. And so that's the current plan. There's a lot of obviously pieces and learning. So that's what their plan is, to have something in advance of the next round.
And the vision being that the next General Assembly will have some actual legislation to solve transit funding. So I had asked Rich to sort of incorporate this for the board, because I think it's there's so much talk about WMATA and sort of bus and WMATA service, but I think we are affected one way or the other, as the money moves around. So I just wanted to uplift it in this context. Thanks, Mark.
Yes, thank you.
And then just quickly, DMV moves, just as a reminder, this also has a financial component to it. But in addition to the financial component, there is several working groups working collaboratively on different, I'll just call them service level type opportunities, wayfinding, fare media, just a lot of different things to find ways to be, I'll just say, more efficient in the region, more, well, I think we're already pretty collaborative. I think the efficiency part is real. Those teams continue to meet. I'll point out that the task force, like VRE, is part of, we're part of an advisory group, but at the task force level, they do have a meeting on Monday, and it's from noon to 2. And you can catch it via YouTube. It'll be live stream. You can get to it on DMV Moves website. I believe it's recorded, and if you have a chance to do that, do that. If not, I'm gonna attach it to my weekly report next week. And so if you get a chance, I really encourage you, if you haven't sort of kept up with that, I'd really encourage you to possibly tune into that or look at that, because there's going to be, it's projected to have a lot of conversation about the funding component and some of these other elements as well. So if you haven't been tracking with that, because I know some of you are involved in it, some of you are not. Probably the jurisdictions further south is in the not category. So this might give you an opportunity to just kind of catch up and stuff like that. So I'll just point that out to you.
Say the time again, please.
It's, I believe it's noon to 2 p.m.
Just to add a little bit of context for these two, sometimes it kind of gets confusing on whether they're duplicative or not. DMV Moves is DC, Maryland, Virginia. And that's very much vision and big picture, a lot of great opportunities to talk about VRE and Mark relationships. The SJ28 is specifically focused on the NBTC and PRTC districts and opportunities for revenues to meet perhaps the needs that are identified in daily moves. So they're intended to feed into each other. The SJ28 is primarily state legislative officials are on that. So again, those are the folks that could potentially do something at the state moving forward. It happens to be that NBTC is very involved in both of these. We're doing our best to make sure there's not duplication, that there's actually, you know, we're trying, but it does get confusing, but the DMV moves think DC, Maryland, Virginia. And yes, there's a lot of conversation about WMATA, but there's also opportunities on the Mark VRE conversation. But that's vision, big picture, big funding needs. And then the solve, if there is a solve in Virginia, the hope is those recommendations are coming out of the legislative SJ28 subcommittee. And that's why they're happening in parallel this year, both with sort of a goals and things happening over the course of this year. So thank you, Madam Chair, for just.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to just echo what Rich had said also about if you don't, for some reason you are not, restrictions are not listed with DMV moves, make sure that you follow it because there is a funding component in the future and you want to make sure that you're tracking with that. So I just want to encourage you to, if you can on Monday, make sure that you participate or that you just watch it.
Awesome. Okay. And then finally, let me just sneak something in here. I just wanted to let everybody know and just recognize Joe Schwartz and his team. On March 19th, the governor signed HB 1682, SB 1269. Hopefully I got those numbers right. In addition to a whole slew of other things, but those are the two that we care about. That's surplus lines broker taxes. Just as a reminder, this was some legislation that Joe and his team have worked on actually the last two sessions. And what is it's actually relief for our insurance brokers not to pay tax. They working before on that, but just want to actually that. And I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is effective, captures the year in arrears, right? So it's effective February or January 2025. So next year that will be the benefit on it, not necessarily for 24. Is that right? Or okay, all right. Well, I just want to make that point. And it's about, and again, $100,000. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, in VRE's world, that's true. His team. That's a feedback. And that's my report, Madam Chair.
All right. Let's see. Seeing none, come on into our action item. First action. Oh, I'm sorry. Public comment. Madam Clerk, if you could share with us the VRE public comments. We received them both in person and electronically via the VRE website. Members of the public wishing to make public comments have 3 minutes and should state their full name and the jurisdiction they live in. Written comments submitted before 8 a.m. this morning will be forwarded to the members of the board and attached to the official minutes. Do we have any of the members of the public here who would like to address the board? Wonderful. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Albert Williams. I live here in West Virginia. My family go back to the 1800s. And I had last week I had a little pretty bad experience with the VRE. I had to go to Washington, D.C. So I went over to the Woodbridge station and there was no vendor there. They had a machine there where you can validate your ticket, but there's nothing for the senior citizens. So when I went to get a ticket, there was no category there for the senior citizens. So I called the VRE and they said the nearest place I would have to go to Alexandria. So anyhow, I said, well, can you mail me a senior citizen ticket? And I got the senior citizen ticket, but they charged me the regular price, $6.40, whereas it should have been $4.80. So I contacted the VRE again, and they said that they would send me a refund, which they did. But my question to you, Mr. Chairman, and the board, are you going to put a vendor, an online agent somewhere anywhere between Woodbridge and Alexandria that we could talk to a real person instead of having to go to the machine?
I could say,
In Woodbridge, there used to be a vendor there that where you could go and get a ticket as opposed to using the kiosk machine. So but the vendor office is no longer there.
that's correct.
So I want to know, are you going to put any other?
We don't have any immediate plans. Yeah, we did have a vendor there at Woodbridge, and he sold tickets for us, also had a coffee shop and stuff like that. And again, I think, consistent with other things as we went through COVID and stuff, there just wasn't any demand. They weren't making any money and all that type of stuff. So, but we don't have any immediate plans. We'll keep that on our radar. But to your point, the
Senior citizen, that's mainly what I'm concerned about.
well,
I use the VRE often. And but it would be nice to have a category on that machine that says senior citizen. People can commit fraudulent acts by using that machine. People that are not seniors. I'm 84 years old. And so on the machine, there's no category there for seniors.
okay, well,
Even if you put a category there, you can put in there, like, put your ID in there so no one would scandalize that machine.
sure. We do have a senior fare discount program. And we issue you an ID. We do all that, for regularly riding, well, not even regularly, even periodically riding on board trains and stuff. So if you don't mind, before we leave, could you give your contact information to Joe Swartz over there? Give your contact information so we can communicate directly.
So that's the last thing, the booklet here, the booklet that I have is in 1920 for Riders Guide. It's a 1920s book. On here, the 1920s book, they said the train leaves, the Fredericksburg train leaves Union Station at 12:55. That's no longer true. That train leaves at 1 p.m. And that's on the new program. Sure. I have an updated book.
Let's get you updated.
This is 2020.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Williams, thank you. I just want to take a moment. I'm sorry you had that experience. We appreciate you obviously using the service and, continuing to use the service. It's good feedback about the process. Mr. Swartz can speak with you. Mr. Schneider, did you have a comment? I sort of saw you be all connected.
He can probably
Okay.
help solve this at our front desk.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in. Are there any other members of the public? It's actually really great to get real feedback. Please.
Well, Mr. Williams, thank you. I'm not echoing the chairman. He's talking to you.
Oh.
But Mr. Williams is one of our staunch senior advocates
Oh,
in the neighborhood. So I just
Awesome.
wanted to say that so you'll know who he is, and he does travel quite a bit from Prince William County to Washington.
No, it's great to hear from the feedback from a rider. Madam Clerk, there were other comments, and I just want to confirm that everybody else received the written comments that were forwarded. And does anybody have any questions or dialogue they want to have about any of those comments that we received in writing? No? Okay. So with that, I will move on to the action items. So our first action item is 9A, authorization to execute a contract for construction management services for the Franconia Springfield Improvement Project. Rich, if you could introduce the item.
Thank you, Chair. I'm gonna have to limit it here. Yes, Madam Chair, what we're seeking is authorization to award the construction management services for the Franconia Springfield Station Improvement Projects. This would be an award to Dewberry Engineers, Inc. of Fairfax, Virginia, for the amount stated in the resolution plus a contingency for the total amount not to exceed $3,386,304. So as you've seen, contracts come across or in front of you before, very similar in a lot of fashions. I will state though, or this is dissimilar in some of our other projects, is just simply the complexity, not so much of the project itself, but just where it's located. There's a third track project that'll be occurring in the adjacent area. At the same time, there'll be the Franconia Springfield bypass project to the south of this. So this is going to need an extreme amount of collaboration, coordination. I will point out too that just from a cost comparator standpoint, the amount that's being recommended plus a contingency, it's akin to like our Manassas Park parking garage project. Actually, this is slightly less, and also like our loop project. So from a cost perspective, and the durations of time are about the same, 30, 31 months. So just want to let you know that from the financial analysis piece of it at a very high level, this is definitely in line with previous projects, say within the last 3 to 5 years. So that's my summary, Madam Chair.
Any questions for the chair on this item? No? All right, well, I would take a motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. 9A is approved. 9B, authorization to amend the contract for engineering and environmental services for the Manassas Park Station parking expansion project, which was just referenced. Rich, could you introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, what I'm seeking is an amendment to an existing contract, and that's with VHB for engineering and environmental services. And again, for the amount stated in the resolution plus a contingency there. And just specifically, this project's really going great. We did have an element that we're adding to the scope. So this isn't like an overage or anything like that. We had originally anticipated, well, let me back up. This project, of course, the most visual piece of this project is a new parking garage. And then, of course, there's a pedestrian overpass onto our existing platform at this station. And then combined into all of that, we are doing state of good repair rehabilitation work. And originally we had contemplated just repairing a stairwell. It's come based on recommendation and stuff. It's actually the best thing to do is just redesign and replace the stairwell. Just bottom line. So what this amendment will do is give us that design construction support as we move forward. And once again, what we like to do in a project like this, or almost we need to do from an efficiency standpoint, is we want to maintain this, similar engineer of record with this project. So because we already have this contract in place, it's, in my opinion, the best, most efficient thing to do is just amend the existing contract and have them take that additional engineering and support work on. So that's my summary, Madam Chair.
Well, this safety culture is definitely a part of VRE. So if replacing the stairs is the better way to go, I think that's the better choice to expand the scope of the project. Does anybody else have questions or comments on this item? And when do we expect to cut the ribbon on the new parking? Do we?
Don't you say it.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that controversial a question.
No, sometimes there's some optimism sometimes. So the plan, and so you'll hear it from me. The plan is, and I think it's a solid plan. They're on track to complete the project by December. But what Dallas will want to say is it might be sooner than that. I'll let that go in the record, but it's advancing quite well. So it's a really good project, really good project. And our partners at the city of Manassas Park have just, they've really made it a really good project with us. So
Okay, well, we'd
Very
love to
happy.
cut that ribbon this year.
Yes.
So, optimism leading the way. All right, so I will take a motion on action item 9B.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, 9B carries unanimously. 9C, authorization to issue a GPC task order for construction manager, general contractor procurement support services for the L'Enfant Station and Fourth Track project. I don't know why, but those words just started to move all together in my mouth. Rich, could you please present?
that was a fine job.
It was, yeah.
Chair.
Beautifully
Great.
done.
I do believe, and thank you, I do believe this does win the monthly award for the longest agenda item title. But, yeah, just simply, I'm requesting to issue a task order again for the amount stated in the resolution plus contingency. And it's for, well, let me just break it down this way. I'll take you back to last month. If you remember Doug Maui's presentation, it was this last slide. And so this task order, the next step in this process, we feel as a staff that this CDBC approach is the best approach. So the next step in our process, and again, this is consistent with our procurement policy, is to have an analysis done. Sounds like a big deal. It's not going to, I don't think it'll take very long. We need this analysis done. I need to bring this analysis back to you and subsequently to the commissions, and primarily because this is an alternate delivery method, and that's how it's spelled out in our procurement policy. So this task order will get us that analysis, okay? And assuming the operations board recommends it and subsequently the commissions approve it, then we will go through this procurement process. So this task order also covers support for the procurement process, the procurement support and everything like that. So I just wanted to make that point. That's what you're approving here. But if for some reason the analysis doesn't bear out and it is the board does not want to move forward, then it's not like the entire value of the task order would be approved. But what I'm looking to do here is to move this along, right? So it's all pointing in the direction that this would be the preferred delivery method. So like I said, if we don't move forward, it's not like we have to spend the money. So that's my summary, Madam Chair.
Are there any questions or comments on the item?
One comment, moving this project forward is very important to other projects in the area, such especially the Long Ridge project, because it ties in. Long Ridge literally ends at Control Point LE, which stands for Long. So thank you to the VRE staff and Rich and others for moving this forward.
Yeah, and I particularly appreciate the sort of the visual that's been provided here. It sort of makes very real the difference between these two approaches. And so it's the breakdown and how we're sort of aligning things rather than having one thing follow another. And hopefully it does result in a faster construction timeframe. I also just wanted to give credit to staff and the way that this item has been presented last month with the task order coming for us this month. I like that approach, and hopefully everybody else does too. I think it gives more context to the action item, having heard Doug Maui last month. So thank you for that. If there's no other questions or, oh yeah, Dr. Young.
You mentioned a couple of times that the board would not like moving forward. That always me think that. I was just wondering, is it, you said alternative delivery method? So what was the preferred delivery method if not?
So again, this is more definitional for definitional purposes. So the delivery methods that we have in our current procurement policy, for example, the design bid build, which is the top line, we would not need to do a feasibility study or anything like that. But again, in our procurement policy, it states that if we are to do an alternative, which the bottom one is considered an alternative, then there has to be an analysis that I bring to you and present to you. And of course, subsequently the commission's approved. So it's purely process, purely procedure. I'm not afraid of it. And frankly, you might want to get used to it too, because I think you're going to see a couple more like this.
Ms. Bailey,
Move forward.
is there a second? So there's a motion and a second. Any further questions, comments? All right, all those in favor of action item 9C? Any opposed? Hearing none, the action item is approved. Moving on to action item 9D, authorization to issue a custodial and seasonal services for VRE Facilities Task Order for Woodbridge Station painting. Rich.
Thank you,
please.
Madam Chair. Yes, as stated in the title, I think it does a pretty good job of explaining what we're after here. And again, for the amount stated in the resolution plus a contingency. Just want to point out that just as a reminder, particularly at the Woodbridge Station, number one, we haven't done any major painting, if you will, preservation work like that since the 2017, 2018 timeframe. So that gives you some perspective of when we last did it. And again, the Woodbridge Station, we have a parking garage. It's a little bit more of an expanded station, if you will, than some of our others. I also want to point out is that, the emphasis, and this is akin to you painting your house, right? The quality is in the prep work, right? So there's a lot of prep work that happens here. As it stated, sandblasting, a lot of prep and preservation. The painting part, relatively speaking, is the easy part. It's all the prep work that we need to do. So just wanted to point that out. And Fresh Air, under this contract, they have painted many of our stations. They do an outstanding job. So we're very comfortable with this. So again, just want to give you some additional information there. That's my summary, Madam Chair.
Do we have a goal each year of a certain number of stations to sort of refresh?
The answer is there's not a number. We do have a transit asset management program that requires us to do an analysis and an ongoing analysis. And so there could be a year where we don't do any painting, but then there could be a year that we have to stand up free, but it's all based on that analysis. Okay. And obviously this is the time of year that we start wanting to get out there and plan the resources and stuff. So we have the balance of the great weather that we're gonna have.
Not today. but
Not
yeah.
today. Anyway, that's.
Maybe we can bring Mr. Williams back after the work has been done and he can tell us how the station looks.
There you go.
So are there any comments or questions on these items?
Just a question, just related to the Woodbridge Station, not necessarily the painting. I think I flagged this for you before, but and I haven't been to the Woodbridge Station as a commuter in probably a year. I usually take Ripon. But I know the audio was a little murky at least a year ago. So it's something we can just kind of keep our eyes and ears on. That would be helpful.
You're right. We've had some audio opportunities at that station because we refuse to have any problems. And I know John and his team, actually Mobashar, actually right over there. So you can blame him. Actually, has been going out and updating. Predominantly, it's the PA system that's actually used, not necessarily by VRE, but by Amtrak. So Amtrak trains will come in. We give them a system to be able to dial into a PA system so they can make announcements at the station, which track and all that. That's what you're actually talking about.
Yeah, that's right.
Bashar has been making some improvements and stuff there. I'm not gonna say he's 100% done right now, but Woodbridge is one that I think you've addressed already, right? Okay, so.
All right, any other? We've got a motion. Okay, I've got a second, but I think there's a few more comments.
Just one question. So the management asset analysis, so this, quality control, does this include, it must include, how the customer, how the rider experiences the station? So there must be some sort of a grade of this, the station feels good, feels safe, feels, updated, or the station is not my favorite place to wait for a train. Or is it a separate thing?
So So we do have a formal system where we go out and analyze, visually or otherwise, analyze station conditions and stuff. So we do have a formal system of that. And in some cases, we don't do that. We have, I'll just say, objectionable third parties, if you will, because we walk by it all the time. We want somebody with a fresh pair of eyes. So we do have that, but then we do also, if we get a lot of just customer comments or something, then we sort of merge those together. So for example, if we don't think a station is ready to spruce up or paint or whatever, but we've got this pile of customer comments over here, there's some flexibility in our process to be able to address that.
Yeah, I recognize that. I just have experience with, assets that we maintain, bus stops, bus stations, et cetera, that the deterioration has to go over a certain threshold for us to begin to receive serious comments. There is a slope. If there is a slope towards that, and sometimes have found that we could have intercepted that earlier and for less money. And
so let me address that. And actually, this is a pre-plug for our transit asset management update that's in your package. But the facilities team has transitioned or is transitioning more into a life cycle maintenance strategy, which goes to exactly what you just said. Catch things before they fail, right? Not when they fail. And always make the caveat though, except for light bulbs. We still have not figured out how to predict when a light bulb's going to fail. So we go ahead and run that to failure or RTF, right? Light bulb fails, we'll go change it out. But everything else, we try to catch it right before the end of its useful life. And I know Eric and his facilities team, Eric's in the back, by the way, trying to be inconspicuous, but Eric leads our facility management team out there with the support of Dallas Richards. So they're transitioning to that, and that's the objective: is to all those elements, get them before they fail.
Ms. Hayes, did you have a comment? I thought I saw another hand. No, Ms. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was reading the resolution, and it could be a newbie question. Well, one of the things, the fiscal impact, it talks about the formula and the matches, the state and local funds. Maybe I really don't understand what the formula is, but we can talk about it later. I don't want to. But then I heard the explanation. I understand what the work is. I just don't understand the custodial part that was described. Is that meaning, what they, that they leave it, that they leave it as it is better with work? Or are you talking about different kind of work when you mention custodial and seasonal services?
Okay, so thank you. The contract, the contract that Fresh Air Duct Cleaning LLC. Okay, so even the title of the company will kind of mislead you a little bit, but the contract is custodial and seasonal services, right? That's the title of the contract. But within their contract, there's opportunities for them to do other things at the stations, like painting, like doing some other, very more lower level maintenance type things. And those are, you consider those are not like fixed cost elements, those are variable costs. So we do that type of work under a task order. So that's what this is. This is a task order. This is not part of their the fixed price contract. And like I said, we've had this team paint several of our stations over the years through this contract and even a previous contract that they had. So yeah, I think it's more to your point, the title might be a little misleading, but.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further conversation? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Okay. Ayes have it. 9D is approved. Item 9E, authorization to issue an invitation for bids to upgrade the camera communications and power infrastructure at VRE's maintenance and storage facilities. Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, this is simply seeking your authorization to conduct a solicitation or invitation for bids. This particular first of all, this particular project, it covers both our Broad Run and Crossroads Maintenance and Storage Facility. And I have authorization to go solicit anything under $1 million, if you will. I'm not gonna say right now this is gonna cost $1 million, but I like to use a threshold. If it's gonna get up kind of close to that, if you will, I just soon come to you, get authorization. And then for whatever reasons it comes in over that, then I'm in here talking to you about about an award, not the fact that I didn't come to you and get authorization. But more specifically, what this project will do is both at our both maintenance and storage facilities, we do at some level have some cameras out at those facilities. Some of them are essentially connected via Wi-Fi. Some of them are connected via cables and stuff like that. We have determined from a reliability standpoint that we need to hardwire all these cameras. We've got just too much going on at these maintenance and storage facilities that provide too much interference as it relates to the Wi-Fi cameras and stuff. And I can get into, different levels of electromagnetic frequency stuff and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we just need to, going forward, it'd be best to have in order to have a more reliable system, is to essentially hardwire this. So you can just picture this project will be a lot of, digging under railroad tracks and conduit work and stuff like that. And of course, it's in a live environment, so that becomes a little more costly. So again, this is just seeking authorization to go solicit. I'll come back to you with a recommendation for award, and I'll have another look at what this contract actually looks like. That's my summary, Madam Chair.
Any questions or comments from the board? Item? No? All right. Ms. Bonke.
So I'm sitting here thinking about the dark fiber that we put under the express lanes when those were built. Is that what we're trying to connect into, or? You understand?
So it's this system, this is a camera system. It's in various states right now. What we're going to try to do, and you're right. I mean, the objective is to put fiber in everywhere we can where it's feasible and stuff. But this is essentially a closed loop system, that then will connect into our other networks that are already existing in those locations. But again, that's why I was trying to visualize our yards. It's going to be a bunch of digging and trenching to get to different locations where those cameras will be positioned throughout the yards.
So when you look at the asset management system that leads life, where are we in that cycle? Even though we know that it needs to be upgraded because we need better connectivity.
Yeah, these cameras only have about a 4 or 5 year life, and we're beyond that.
Yeah.
So we took it, honestly, we took it like, okay, let's not just go out and do the same old thing. Right? Okay, be honest with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on this item? And just to remind everybody, we will see it again when the actual contract comes forward and have a little more details probably about the scope of the work that will entail. All right, having said that, is that a motion?
It's a motion for approval.
All right, I heard a second over here, Mr. Gordy, thank you. So all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, 9E carries. We are moving through to our information items. 10A is an update on the Broad Run expansion project and VRE's maintenance and storage facility.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to toss over here to Chris Coker. He's a project manager for this project. Chris has been VRE for several years, and even before his tenure as a staff, actually worked. He's been around VRE lots for quite a while. I will also note that Chris is in a pretty unique position where both his Ohio State Buckeyes won the national championship this year, and his Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. So he is riding very high right now. So
It also must be said then that he rocked a very impressive, was it velour, I think? Yeah, a velour tracksuit in the Ballyshannon parade that was very popular with the crowds. So with that, Mr. Coker,
You should have one of these up there. Okay, great. I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning, members of the board, Madam Chair. I did start out with good news. I only have 5 slides for you today, so I do hope you find them. The Broad Run expansion project is unique in that it spans across 2 of our member jurisdictions in Prince William County and the city of Manassas. It's also directly adjacent to a regional airport. VRE's maintenance and storage facility site will be redeveloped to support Manassas line expansion. The near-term demand forecast, VRE has ordered new passenger rail cars from Alstom Transportation, Inc. And 10 of those rail cars are set to be stored here at the Broad Run facility. To accommodate both near-term and long-term system plan growth projections, we're planning to add 4 new storage tracks and expand 7 of the 8 existing storage tracks at Broad Run for additional storage capacity. If I could please draw your attention to the graphics on the screen, I wanted to walk you through some of the project elements and how they will impact each other. What you see now is what the Broad Run facility looks like today. Expanding the overall footprint of the rail yard shown here in green will result in multiple impacts to existing infrastructure, which is represented in the color red. These impacts will include our existing crew buildings, the Broad Run station, and passenger parking lots. VRE will mitigate these losses with construction of a new administrative welfare building with dedicated employee parking, a new station platform to replace the original Broad Run station, and a reconfiguration of the passenger parking lot owned by PRTC and MBTC. Another thing to point out is we will be adding a train wash building here to have similar function to what we have at our sister facility project. The outward expansion of both the maintenance and storage facility and the station will necessitate the need for easements and/or property acquisitions, and negotiations are underway with our neighbors at City of Manassas, the county, and Loomis. We are currently in the final design phase and at the 90% design stage. Our team is in the process of making permit applications to both our authorities having jurisdiction, Prince William County and the city. Looking forward, we are planning to solicit construction management services later this summer with the goal to follow up with the solicitation for a general construction contract by the end of the calendar year. Our team is currently projecting up to 3-year duration for construction at the site. To further address VRE's Manassas line service enhancements, there will be a spin-off project separate from the Broad Run expansion, which is known as the VRE track. This is proposed as a 2.9 mile single track extension from the Broad Run maintenance and storage facility to a point near the Grant Avenue underpass in the city of Manassas. The track will be parallel to the 2 existing mainline tracks and run between Manassas Station and Broad Run complex to provide additional operational capacity on this stretch of the corridor. We plan for the VRE lead track project to follow on the heels of the Broad Run expansion project. Finally, I wanted to share an idea that we had our Broad Run design team explore, which was the feasibility of a highway bridge over the tracks as an alternative to our primary station access route around Piper Lane. The problem with Piper Lane is that it lies within a floodplain, and as many of our passengers have experienced, it can become flooded out during rainfall events of significance, partially cutting off access to our station. Jason, take a reminder, if you ever do encounter a flooded roadway, please turn around to the ground.
Thank you.
Our proof of concept efforts have confirmed the potential for a new connection between Route 28 via an extension of Residency Road up and over the tracks connecting to Broad Run Station. A conceptual design package, including a vehicular type, size, and location report, have been developed and are ready for future advancement. That concludes my presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions, but I want to open it up to the board first. Does anybody have questions or comments on this item?
Thank you. This is an exciting time, but I do have questions, and again, it could be because I'm new. The first one is at what part of the project you reach out to the localities? Because if you are at 90% and you haven't been talking to the localities, I don't see the possibility of changes when I understand, for me, this is really outside, but there is so many changes that we are having at the airport. And then there's other things that we had a town hall meeting on Monday, and I don't know, it's because of the purchase of the line, and I was waiting for my regular client to bring it up, but I think this is a good opportunity, and maybe all this talk has a sparkle, like who has responsibility on the tracks, and now they're trying to place it on the locality because of the trucks, the maintenance and stuff. But going back, again, I have to look into when or when, but it's not that you're gonna have, we are here to work together. You might don't have, I will say, negative feedback, but you might not be thinking of the impact that, that things can cause to the local residents, which are the riders, that's the way I see it. So, that would be my question. And I want to, find what is the best way to tune in. And I do have other stuff that I can do. Concern if something big comes up and that can create a problem. And those little details, sometimes it can be pricey, and that the bottom line is today's the economy or funding the where we are. I just want to make sure that when we get close, that everything is in and everybody is on board.
Do you want to speak first?
Let me assure you, over the years, we have communicated, we've stood up, public outreaches. That's how we got to where we're at now. But more specifically, I would say we're very much tied to the hip with the airport, and particularly as they, in the last couple of years, have updated their long-range plan. They have been, frankly, partners, and in fact, some of what they are projecting, the airport again, are projecting actually informed what we were doing here in terms of, use of space and stuff like that. So I have to tell you, this has been going on since probably 2018-ish. And there's been a lot of, that's how we got here, frankly. So, but not to discount the fact that as we move forward, particularly the different jurisdictional staffs, the city of Manassas, Prince William County, of course, the airport staffs, it doesn't stop. We have to continue doing that stuff. So I can assure you, in fact, in some cases, because of the airport's most recent changes in their long range plan, that probably, we found ourselves in situations where we were talking together, because not just the airport services, but what could VRE, how could we complement each other there? So this was an opportunity where we probably did a lot more expanded type collaboration. So.
And I would encourage you, it's been my experience that if you want to reach out to Rich or Chris and ask for just a local briefing, with the relevant staff. I've had those kind of meetings and with the Alexandria Bridge projects, with anything specific sort of to your jurisdiction, I've found the staff pretty responsive. So it's willing to have that kind of meeting.
We need to get her out on a system.
Oh, you haven't had your tour yet? Okay. All right, well, lots to do then, but I would absolutely encourage you to, to request a one-on-one, about the project locally. And staff is usually really eager and willing to have those meetings. Ms. Momke.
So I just wanted to ask, and kind of furthering your conversation, have you heard things recently from the community that have given you cause for concern? Is that why you brought this up?
Well, I'm not very familiar with this project. So that's what I was saying. Maybe because it's, I'm new and I didn't have that, transition, if you call it. And but the complaints were coming on Monday, and like everybody that is happy about it, but it's not something that you have caused. It's just, people feeling it's our side. How if we can send maybe asking the feedback, but people feel like somebody is responsible, and Norfolk Southern has never been, player on my next one, or a team player, or responding, and the next one will be on track, which, I'm sure you have heard. Maybe want to go on conversation and see what we can. Yeah, even if there's no VRE, people now are trying to, place that in the locality, and there's no lack of staff or other elected officials trying to fix it.
Right, so bring all those parties together, I think, alleviate the concerns of your constituents that are valid. And they don't understand VRE, NBTC, all these different agencies that we all work. So I think that would be beneficial. Yeah.
Question or comment? Is it going through the city?
This is at the airport, so.
Okay, so, but it's coming through, is it coming from the airport and it's coming?
Yeah, the
close
next
to the
stop is the city. So all this expansion is the the first station, and then the next station, but the specific things that were brought up are different.
So did you have a local meeting? Get concerns or comments?
We did talk about it, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it, but when it comes to the project that hasn't, it's going to the sign or something like that for the city. So I think we're in a great place. Like I said, I just being the new one, I don't wanna, feel like I live without having a plan or without having, the answers, but I believe they want to one. And then maybe when we do have, if it's possible, I will request when we do have the Manassas part of the or an update to the city, let's have a small conversation in this, because I never heard that. That was the other complaint of town hall, that people feel like we need to provide feedback on these big projects, and we thought we were being scheduled, but maybe a little more to help. That's the only reason why.
So my comment, completion of my comment was gonna be that doesn't matter at what point we are at this point, it's still okay to have someone representing VRE come to your community with you after you all discuss, like, what is it that we're gonna talk about? Because it's still welcoming and understanding, because sometimes it's scary when you just run through a county or city. I mean, look at Richmond and some towns where they just run through and break up communities. And so that's important to know that is a working together to get patient to you and to move forward from places. So encourage that. Evening. Ahí por translación. Yeah.
Ms. Beck.
Yes, Mr. Gordon.
So I do represent the area just outside of Manassas around this. So I have been out with Rich. I've taken a look and been briefed on this. And I'm excited about what's transpiring here for two reasons. I think it's important for us to understand the context. First of all, this is a true commuter station. A lot of people from Fauquier County coming up 28, this is where they get on, they ride from here. A lot of people from Western Prince William, this is where they end the train and head in. The road is a problem. We cannot raise the road because there's a railroad bridge. So we literally cannot raise the road. So we need a separate entrance into this site that's more dependable. And so look forward to continuing to have that conversation with our transportation folks. I will note that the Prince William County Board has approved, we are establishing some committees. And one of those committees is an interjurisdictional committee.
to talk about things like this, where it is overlapping with Manassas and Manassas Park, and in any of our other towns or that within the county. Because we recognize there's not while the staff may be talking a lot, the board members and the city council members may not be aware of those conversations all the time. So what this will do is this will bring us together to have these collaborative conversations, receive updates on projects where there's overlap between the counties and the cities and towns. And so that's our intent, is to make it a more collaborative relationship. There is a lot going on at the airport. And one of the things that we're driving from our side is what's called the George Mason University Innovation District, which now has incorporated the area out on this side of the airport with a target for aerospace engineering. So we're looking at things that we can do to come over and even partner with the city of Manassas. And I've been working with City Councilman Wolf on this to figure out how we can leverage the airport in aerospace engineering, which means we're probably going to need this train station to actually be bringing trains out during the daytime. I literally just had a meeting 2 weeks ago with a defense contractor who's Fairfax folks. I'm sorry, they're bringing 150 jobs from Fairfax to Prince William and Manassas. But a lot of those residents live in Arlington. And so those jobs are, and so was that?
They can take the train.
Yeah, they could take the train, but
Gotta go the other way.
is there a train that comes out and gets them there by 8 o'clock in the morning? So these are conversations, and as we continue this, I mean, the things that we're trying to accomplish, Prince William, no longer just a bedroom community, but an economic hub, to where there's job creation, that we're not just seeing people out of the county every day, that we're literally creating jobs and leveraging what's happening at George Mason, what's happening at the airport, and some of the other things within our community. So there's going to be we just had the Urban Land Use Institute Technical Assistance Panel for Sudley Corridor, looking at how we're going to revitalize all that. Representatives from VRE and OmniRide were there because they're essential to all of this. And even with this, there needs to be OmniRide, platforms for people to be able to stand and catch the bus to come to places where OmniRide can provide that transport to those job sites. So we're on the very beginning of this, but look forward to having these conversations. And to me, this is sort of laying the groundwork and the foundation for what's coming. And so this is very exciting. So thank you, Rich.
Absolutely.
Your hands first.
Really? I'm not so sure.
Being gracious.
Thank you for being gracious. I have a little silly question, but it's important to me since we are looking for, wide, new facilities, especially for staff, etc. What are the environmental standards for them? Are we making them, for example, I don't know, solar panel ready or so? Do we have any additional ambitions beyond the project itself?
Currently, more traditional utility connection things.
I mean, the reason why I'm asking that is if this is all fitting in a innovation district, et cetera, it would be great to use the amazing availability of public space and roof space, et cetera, for producing a couple of gigawatts actually, if you see how much available is. And I'm assuming that's under our control and can be. I mean, it doesn't have to be immediately. It can be just made to be easy to. Yeah, they're not asking VRE to run a power station there. I'm just asking VRE to not make it impossible to run one.
Yeah, we could certainly start off by not precluding such an add-on in the future, and there would be potential on the roof, for example.
Speak up, please.
Yeah.
There'd be potential on the roof, the crew building, potentially for some solar.
Speak up a little more. Sorry, I cannot hear you.
The roof of the crew building could potentially have solar panels, and we could direct our team now to not preclude such an addition in the future, but it's not currently planned at this time.
I think that this is a good thing to begin to think about, given the assets that VRE begins to actually control. And, you know, it not only creates lots of goodwill from others who will be paying for these assets, but also is actually a good thing to have. It's not for VRE to invest extra money in that. It's just VRE to invest it in a way that makes it available as a to retrofit at some point, and hopefully in the near future.
I'll just say, we brought a study to you a year or so ago, a year and a half ago, on touching some of these elements. And of course, you know, the costs outweigh the benefits. So we could dust that off and have some more conversations.
Follow up on that.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't, you know, paying attention in class properly, so I'm happy to go back and look at the details.
Sure you were.
But
Yeah.
I think also that this is an area of innovation and change that over a year, 18 months, 2 years, costs, you know, may change. And certainly there's a lot of development in this space and there's tax credits available. So I appreciate, I remember the study and I remember it a little bit. And so I do think it's something we should sort of revisit. And I appreciate, you know, the point that as long as our intentions, if you can go back to the slide that actually showed all the new pieces on it, I mean, it's pretty much just a box at this point. And so hopefully we are early enough, or, you know, that we can just avoid precluding, you know, things. I appreciate we may not be able to pay for or change design, but as long as we can be conscious of, you know, creating structures that don't make it harder to add these features when they're affordable, or when potentially the jurisdictions themselves are interested and have grant opportunities to invest in them. Maybe George Mason, you know, the school has an interest in a project. Yeah.
Somebody wants to come out and test something.
Yeah.
You know, and general aviation airports are now famous for installing, you know, huge solar panel arrays because it pays the bills.
Yeah.
Frankly, I mean, they are not, you know, money makers by themselves.
It pays the bills, we like that. I wanted to just echo what my colleague was saying earlier about the jurisdictional committee. And thank you, Tom, for saying that, because this is a time when what you're concerned about should be voiced. And I think it does breed collaboration and sensitivity to the community of things that the elected officials may not be, other elected officials may not be aware of as we go through with this wonderful project. The Route 28 corridor is very important to us as it relates not just to centralize Manassas and that area, but what's coming into that area and going out. And so I would encourage you, if you are not in the jurisdictional committee, to inquire, because that kind of voice is absolutely the purpose of this committee.
Ms. Vasquez.
And if I can, I mean, of course, I am you know, thought on, you know, to be here, because many people wanted to do this. I believe all the localities have, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but everybody is ready and they have made their appointment, and yeah, definitely that would be a place that we can, have difference. Only one question that I have, and I know I have checked, but maybe I missed it, is all the presentations, you know, I always see the reports and, you know, I try to read all the reports before we come here, but is the presentations available or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
make sure you get them. We'll make sure you get them.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Gordon.
I just want to highlight the employee welfare buildings. You know, Rich and he showed it to me. It needs help. So this is, I think, very important for our folks that are working, maintaining, you know, both sides, the maintaining side, the transportation side, you know, to give them a good place, a safe place to rest, to take breaks and those deep lunches. And so, you know, that absolutely give a shout out for putting that into this project to take care of our people. So.
Excellent. And this is the location with years of without incident. So,
So they've earned it.
yeah, I was gonna say they've definitely earned a new building.
We like to say the facilities are at the end of their useful life. How's that?
That's good. No, I appreciate this conversation, and for me, it sort of highlights what's really unique about VRE and its board is, the range of localities, the broadness of the region represented here. Like, we're one of the few bodies that I've served on, but probably that all of us serve on, that really captures, Alexandria all the way down to, Spotsylvania. And this conversation highlights that over the next, moving into the 2050 plan, this movement isn't going to be just one way, indefinitely. This movement is now going to have people from Arlington traveling down to, Prince William for work. And so that's the opportunity. This is the opportunity we have as a board to be a part of that vision of the region as a place that moves in both directions, both times of the day. And that's the opportunity we have when going back and talking about the role of VRE to support that bi-directional vision of employment and of business development and these opportunities. So I think we're a special body, and I think this dialogue sort of highlights the role that we play regionally between our jurisdictions.
Yes.
I
just want to, I made a mention to it earlier, but I just want to stress it one more time and highlight exactly what Vice Chair Bailey just mentioned. And I did mention it about the community, and I mentioned Richmond, and it's for a reason, and I'll bring it up again, that when you mentioned 2050, I want us to remember that 20 or 30 or 40 years from now, somebody's going to look back and say, what did they do here? So when we talk about technology, and we talk about businesses in George Mason, and this runs in my area and it runs around here, it's not about sensitivity only. Is about community and the change of communities forever. So when Richmond, for example, it was a city that people lived, worked, and took care of each other. And once you run something through it, it changes it for a lifetime. So somebody having to find out where to meet, feel that it's the responsibility of those that are changing things to come to the community even before, and if that was being done, it needs to be globally, not just board members or individuals that have that vote, is making sure that the community appreciates what it is that you're doing and that you're doing something back to the community.
I appreciate that. And so I want to be conscious of time. My goal is to get us to close session by 10:30 if possible. So this is just an information item. There's no vote on this item. If there's any other questions or comments, Mr. Coker, thank you for the presentation. And, we're looking forward to driving over one day rather than through. All right, we'll move on to 9B or 10B, excuse me, which is the VRE Transit Asset Management Plan 2024 update, which we've sort of been laying the seeds about already in this meeting. Great.
So thank you, Madam Chair. Just as I've done each year on different topics, this of course being one of them, is to just give you a summary of effort, work, changes potentially on different programs, this being our transit asset management plan. This is a 2024 update. This is intended just to give you an update of what occurred last year. Just a couple of highlights. The teams updated, they updated LCM plans, updated, there's always some continuous updates to the overall transit asset management program, but also the team did, they're advancing into higher levels of training. They did that throughout the year as well, and that's for staff and other stakeholders. And of course, the team did support the FTA triangle review. So I'll just encourage you, if you haven't, this is a couple 2-3 pager. If you haven't looked at it, feel free to do so. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. Again, this purely meant as an information item. So that's it, Madam Chair.
Thanks. Did anyone have any questions or observations in reviewing the materials? If you do, you can obviously send them after the meeting in light of our conversation. This sort of feeds back to our state of good repair generally, and how are we monitoring the stations? And this lays out the process for that. So appreciate the update. But if there are no other questions on that, we'll move on to item 10C, which is the information item on the draft system plan 2050 update and the comparison to previously adopted system plan 2040.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Simply stated, I stuck this in as an information item for this meeting because what I really want you to do is for the next meeting. Okay, and this is information that most of you have seen or whatever, but I just review this. You're going to see elements of it. The thing that we added here is that over conversations over the last couple of months, some members and stakeholders are like, okay, well, what you're planning in 2050, how does that compare to 2040? So we added some information in there. As a just setting up the April meeting, we're going to come in here pretty heavy on system plan type stuff. So I just wanted to kind of get, sort of reset a little bit, get everybody similar on the same page. By all means, if anybody wants to sit down and have minutes, hours, days conversation about this prior to the next meeting, our staff's available to it. So like I said, we want to get into, at the April meeting, really want to get into some updates that have been pending based on ridership, based on the opportunities on the Manassas line and stuff like that. So we're going to just dive right back into it in April. So please, again, not only read through it, but if you have questions or want to talk about it, please get a hold of us. So that's my summary, Madam Chair.
Ms. Bonke.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. Rich, when you bring this next month, will you have a slide that actually delineates the changes? Okay, so that we're not, or a red line version would be helpful. However you do it, just to make it easier for the board.
Yes, extremely well.
Thank you.
Yes, we will do that.
Okay, Rich. So, right. Do you mind? This is an information item, and then we'll do the spending. I'm sorry, guys. I need to step out for just a moment. But Ms. Bailey, the vice chair, can definitely take the reins.
Okay.
Just questions.
Yes.
Just to really. And I'm speaking as somebody that seemed by me, so I'm gonna be digging into this further to make sure it seems reasonable. Why it matters in some ways, it's it's 20 years in the future, so really have that much, but we're particularly because of what VRE is, the fact that our infrastructure is everything. I mean, capital projects and things that we do have such long lead times. It particularly needs attention. So I'm reinforcing the fact that I urge everybody to take a look at. I've had some individuals ask me questions, kind of say the same thing to me, is that really, do you think those numbers are likely to be true? And to be honest, 6 months ago, I had severe doubts. Given the last couple months, you can see, well, that things could dramatically change based on, just, I have called, everybody has to report to work. So, I'm really just kind of repeating what Richard said, is that I think this is really a robust opportunity for us to have that kind of discussion. And I know, I would say we're definitely going to hear more of those kinds of questions at MBTC. I don't know the RTC will be, but so I would urge everybody to kind of go down, take a look, and have that discussion, so that when we're done, we end up with something that we all, this is a strong consensus, like that. Yes, this represents our best thinking at this point in time. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Storm. Are there any other comments on item 10C? Okay, having that. Item 10D, spending authority, and this is to talk about the report. Rich, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Once again, just a couple of items on the spending authority report. If you have any questions, glad to answer them. But as stated above, this is just something you get monthly, and I'm just reporting this out to you. And then if I may, real quick, before we go into, I believe the next item is closed session, but I just wanted to point out, in front of you is a brochure here, and all props go to our marketing engagement manager, Chet, back in the room. Raise up your hand. Hi there. Again, just a different way to present information to you, not always in a presentation. This is meant if you want to take it with you, but again, this is what we did in 24, and then there's some things in here that have teed up 2025. So again, all this stuff is done by our staff, very, lots of time, very low cost, that type of stuff. So just wanted to share that with you. Just want to continue to give you information, but not necessarily always in the same format. So with that, that's my information item reports, Madam Vice Chair, Madam Chair.
Madam Vice Chair, Ms. Bailey.
Just quickly, the pamphlet is sensational, and just congratulations on the awards. As you work hard, it's good to be acknowledged for the things that you do in the community. So congratulations. But I love the pieces that you put together because
She's referencing the Biddy Award.
yes, Madam Chair and I were Chairwoman, we were talking about that this morning. So yeah,
For
just
video.
congratulations. I just wanted
It's
to,
called the Biddy, right?
Yeah.
yeah. So congratulations.
All right, apologies all for my dramatic departure. There's a fire in my building, but things are fine. But that's why I stepped out. I wanted to make sure my dog, not this building, where I live, but I want to make sure my dog was okay. So he's okay. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, Dan, go ahead.
First off, it's very, very well done piece. And I guess just the distribution or the audience, the intention for this. And then the second question is, maybe it's me, but it references the new paint design and stuff for the train. I just don't remember that. So
It's been a couple of years.
okay, all right. So that makes me feel better that it's not new, really.
It's in the top left state.
I love the look art. Love the paint colors, and I love our logo. I mean, I think we did a great job on brand. I think it's a sensational job. The audience for the.
So we start here. This is really, it's written primarily to update you, but it's also, we will share this with the public. So we'll make this available on our website. I'm not going to print a bunch of these necessarily and hand them out. Yeah, but I mean, we'll hand them out. I'll give them to commission members, and Chet, you'll have still a handful that are available to folks that ask for a printing copy, but it's really intended to be a online document. So.
No, I appreciated getting this because I often am not aware myself, if not highly online, of all the ways in which VRE is promoting itself and things to share. So I appreciated that it gave me more tools to sort of share information. And I think one of its real assets VRE has are the riders themselves. I mean, people who come in and speak about the service. So the fact that we leaned into that with the marketing is really valuable. So thank you for everybody who was responsible for this document.
You know how we all go to conventions and we grab things and we bring back to the office. Those of you that read your books, I'm gonna take them so I can share it with the board. Let's get
Yeah, I'm sure we can get you some.
So you have yours, so we need 5 more.
It'll get you some.
Okay, thank you.
It'll get you what you need. Yeah.
No.
The thing I wanted to just highlight real quick is that I think Natalia, who's noted in here as the marketing assistant, that's a recent addition, relatively recent.
Yeah, so she was a part-time intern, part-time. I never get the exact titles correct because we got different categories, but yeah, she's moved in actually into a full-time position.
Yeah.
We're very excited to have kept her, if you will.
Yeah.
Not let her go anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. 50% is extraordinary for a newsletter open rate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All of us who have here run for office would love to have a 50% open rate on our email campaign. So yeah, you're right to notice.
Business.
Yeah. Okay, so that was an information item, no action to take here on the spending authority report. With that, we're gonna move into our closed session.
10:30.
And look at that, right on time, right on fire side. Okay, so, mine.
Absolutely. Pursuant to the Information Act 2-3711 29 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the VRE Operations Board convene a closed meeting for the purposes of discussing the terms and scope of a contract involving the expenditure of public funds where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position and negotiating strategy of the commissions.
Is there a second? Oh, wait, that was the motion. There was a second. All right. So we will move into closed session and after the clerk calls the roll. Sorry, we have to have a roll call vote on this, right? Sorry.
Ms. Bagley.
Aye.
Ms. Bailey.
Aye.
Ms. Bond. Aye. Ms. Franklin.
Aye.
Mr. Gordy.
Aye.
Ms. Hayes.
Aye.
Ms. Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Carantonis.
Aye.
Ms. Vasquez Luna.
Yes.
Mr. Stork. Dr. Young.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin. And Madam Chair, motion passes.
All right, great. So we'll move into closed session. If anybody needs a moment, let's take 4 with the goal to start in 5 minutes.
It's a technical.
They're evacuating the building. Oh.
Right, you have electronic vote.
Oh, absolutely. We don't do it on our.
When it doesn't work, you say aye.
You
guys, I mean.
That would be a Steve question. Cut into his territory.
Oh, yes. Nice picture. Yeah. No, that's that. It's real confident. I like it.
Yeah, she's all like.
All right, thank you. All right, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Very much. I move that the VRE just concluding closed session on the public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information were discussed, and only such business matters as were identified by which the closed session was being were heard, discussed, and considered.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Ms. Holmes. We have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote.
Ms. Bagley.
Aye.
Ms. Bailey.
Aye.
Ms. Bumke. Aye. Ms. Franklin.
Aye.
Mr. Gordy. Ms. Hayes.
Aye.
Holmes.
Aye.
Mr. Carantonis. Ms. Vasquez Luna. Aye. Mr. Stork.
Aye.
Dr. Young.
Agree.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
And Madam Chair, that motion passes.
All right, thank you all very much. That brings us to board members' time. I've said my piece this week. I'm gonna move it to the vice chair.
No comments. Have a good weekend.
Yes.
Yes.
That's from also.
Yes.
I'll try to be short. I think, today was a great meeting and great discussions. I'm still really happy about the, Manassas, line changes. And then I will ask for help from support. I'm trying to merge, the ticket booth, but I will get back with you. And, I don't think it has been in place yet. I don't know if it's the VRE or the contract. And it continues.
Contract ticket vindication at the Manassas station.
And I think, we have HMI, but HMI is a non-profit. And now the biggest problem of to help out the visitors. So my ask is basically to have a studio has. I haven't been able to make it there, but to have a join eating area for things to that would be very, very helpful, but
It's in its plans, yeah.
yeah,
Information.
okay, and they could, the plan that you put is gonna resolve some of the goals, so I'll skip that. And, the other ask is, continue, maybe have an update on the weekend or Saturday service, is another item that comes up all the time. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Dr. Young?
I'm good. Just all my time. I'm happy.
Right, thank you all so much. Great meeting today, a lot of content. We'll see you, in April? Yes?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Sarah, good luck.
Okay. Good. Thank you. I told.
So.